Hello, my name is Huey Paul Gaucher Zayas, Tops in Blue 90, 96, and 98. Also a Golden Roger recipient. But enough about me. I'm here to talk about my friend Joshua Tarrant. He's the Barefoot Drummer, Tops in Blue 2012. Now just a little bit about Josh. He's an amazing person, but a phenomenal drummer. He managed to have his promotion ceremony. He started off enlisted, now he's a captain. He went to Fenway, that's it, the Red Sox, Fenway, and had me sing the national anthem, and it was an honor. But Josh is a phenomenal person. He's married, he's no longer enlisted, he's a captain, and he is true Tops in Blue. Ladies and gentlemen, Joshua Tarrant.
On you.
Folks, I am honored that I have my first guardian here on the Priory podcast. We have with us now, he's a captain right now. He's a major select in July. So you're going to put on major in July. We have with us Guardian, United States Space Force, Captain Josh Tarrant. How are you today, Captain? Captain Josh, how are you?
I'm great. Let's just go with Josh, Dave.
Let's just go with Josh.
Thank you. This is such a treat to see you, my friend. We go back to my first iteration with Tops and Blue at Worldwide, and we'll get into that. But
Yeah.
thank you for what you're doing to
No.
chat with folks. This is a good amount of legwork. I understand the logistics and the pain that goes into making something that you can share. And so thank you,
Yeah.
just straight away, Dave.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So, just to give folks a little bit of background here. So you were on Tops and Blue 2012, the Listen Tour, which I had no idea that was even the title of your tour told, because I have the big book of Blue, but it only goes up to like 2005 or something like that. So I had no idea that was the name of your tour. I just forgot one of the two, which could possibly be that. You were the drummer, the flight chief, media relations, and I definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah.
The assistant load master, and you worked on the stage crew.
I used to be claustrophobic, and then I was a loadmaster, assistant loadmaster.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Climbing
not
on the
funny.
top of boxes into the truck,
Yeah.
all the way from the back to the cab.
Yeah, hand me that trust. Can you
That
hand
was
me
a
that
trip.
trust? Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So you were a Wilco winner in 2012, which I remember fondly. You were all, and I didn't know this, or maybe I just forgot again because I am old. 2016, 2017 Air Force Entertainment Entertainer of the Year.
For the instrumental category,
The
Robert
instrumental
Carter
category,
won
right?
one of those
Instrumental
years, of
category.
course. And so I think when the Tops and Blue program ended, the staff did various iterations of different things to stay, in that spirit. And so the Entertainer of the Year award was a virtual contest where I submitted it both as a Master Sergeant in 2016 and then after OTS as a second lieutenant, winning back-to-back years in the instrumental category. You can't compete against a great vocalist like Robert Carter, right? No matter what instrument you play. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. That goes with that. Yeah, yeah. You really have to be on
no,
your A game
no
because he's on his A game for
And,
sure. Yeah,
and that's actually how I started. So I'll get to that.
yeah, yeah.
We'll,
We'll come around to that.
yeah.
All right. So what I want to do is I want to start with your pre-military tour. Where did you grow up? We'll start with that. What music influenced you, that type of thing. I got some questions in that arena, but just go with it. Just give me your pre-military story.
Sure. Thank you. Just getting a little tea. So I grew up mostly in upstate New York. I did a couple years in seventh, eighth, ninth grade in Wells, Maine, the southern part of Maine.
Okay.
And we moved back to the same town in East Greenbush where I graduated high school. I was a hell of a sandwich maker. I worked at a restaurant, a New York sub chain called Mr. Sub with two B's. I
Ooh.
will disparage the name of Subway until the day I die because we don't need to get into that, but it was a little bit of rivalry there. And so I was looking at, graduating high school, had various things, going on. And I thought, what a great way to get out of my hometown to get an education. My father had served in the Army National Guard for many years, and so that was what I did. So I went out of East Greenbush, out of the Albany MEPS in January of 2001, which, if you remember, 2001 was kind of a, you know,
Yep.
an interesting year. And so that was, I got to basic training, went through that, went to Vandenberg, um, for my training for my tech school for the space operations career field. So funny story going, we'll interweave about the Space Force. My
Mhm.
recruiter said, in the late summer or so, I can get you out the door today if you want to go in open general or if you want to be a dot 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 X career field. And
Yeah.
I was like, no, I really want to do space. I had actually gone to space camp in Huntsville, Alabama twice in that sixth to ninth grade area. I forget exactly which year. And that interested me. Like, that's what I want to do. I want to do
Yeah.
space. There was a satellite operations career field in the Air Force. And I waited. I told the recruiter, no, I'll wait till there's a class.
Good
And
for you.
I waited, and he's called me a few weeks later. It wasn't that long of a wait, and said, I got a class date for you in January. So went to basic, went to tech school in Vandenberg, Air Force Base at the time, and
Mhm.
started on the GPS constellation, which everybody knows what GPS is because we couldn't get around anywhere without
Right.
it.
Right. Yeah.
And many more functions as well. So that's kind of the early years. Um, I met
Where in upstate New York?
a little town called East Greenbush. It was within, a few miles of Albany, so pretty close to Albany, but it was pretty rural.
So I grew up in Dryden, New York, right between Syracuse and Ithaca.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
A
Right there in
bunch
the
of my
Finger
friends
Lakes,
went
right next
to
to Keuka Lake. Yeah.
Okay, a bunch of my
Yeah.
friends that went to college straight out of high school went to Ithaca or SUNY.
Yeah.
A couple of the SUNYs. So yeah.
Very cool. So when did you start getting really into music? Give me were your parents in the music? Were drums a thing? Give me the background on how the music got into your world.
Yeah, so I started singing in chorus in middle school-ish, and I can sing, I can hold a note, but I've got a bit of a froggy kind of texture, and I'm not really designed to be a front man. In high school, I was singing in the front of the stage for a while, and I joke about this that every time, the we would go on a break, and the drummer, my really great friend TJ, would like take a break, go to the bathroom, or walk away or something. I would get behind the kit, and I would try to play, and the guys would be like, "Boo, you're
Yeah,
terrible."
yeah, yeah.
And
But it
so
was fun.
I bought, yeah, and so I bought, a much older version of a nice pair of headphones and had Walkman, cassette or
Yeah.
CD Walkmans at
Yeah.
the time, and I learned songs. I never took a lesson until maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And so completely self-taught, learned on a lot of like contemporary rock, and then a little bit later got into like metal and Dream Theater and like some more progressive stuff that really is
Yeah.
challenging physically. And so yeah, no real musical background in my family, just had an interest. And then when I really started getting into drums, I have a kind of list of people I want to weave in to thank
Mhm.
for this in this discussion. And one of them is, of course, my mom for buying my first drum set and then
Right.
putting up with, the aftermath of that decision. Um,
Did you have to paint a room or paint the porch or do yard work for your
we
drum set? What
we
did you
had
have to do?
I don't recall. I'm sure I paid for it, but we had a basement at the time, and I recall her kind of walking into a music store and realizing like the level. I see a bass behind you.
Yeah.
How many basses do you have? How many
I
hands?
got well, yeah, I've got one on that wall, one over on that
Yeah,
wall, one upstairs. I got a guitar here.
yeah. So
I got a piano which I'm totally just scraping around over there.
nice.
So,
So my mom quickly realized like this is a whole thing, and so she basically said like this is it. Like anything after this, you're on your own to buy. And she
this is
bought
the last toy I'm buying you.
Yeah, pretty much. So it was a great, starter kit. I think it was a Percussion Plus. I ended up taking the wrap off of it at some point and like trying to stain, even though it was one of those like, really not expensive wood kind of.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was a really key thing that she got me the instrument and gave me the space to make a lot of noise, and then the same later, and then still my wife as well for embracing my passion, allowing for as we purchased homes in various places over the years and all that to allow me to
Well,
make
she's a good woman for putting up with you, man.
yes.
For all that banging around.
She is. In the
That's a
modern
very
time, we've gone a little bit more hybrid, and so I've gotten some low volume options where
yeah.
she does video calls for her work, and so she could actually be on a video call on the other end of the house, and you just kind
And
of
she'll never hear you.
hear tick ticking.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, ticking. I like that. That's a good way to put that.
Yeah.
What drummers did you wrap yourself around? I mean, I know you got real big into the progressive bands,
Yeah.
but in the early days, what were you really locked into?
Early days was for sure Mike Portnoy, Dream Theater, one of the greatest drummers in my opinion.
Mhm.
You can definitely hear a lot of his, still in my his influence in my playing. Carter Beauford and the early first 5 or 7 or 8 Dave Matthews Band albums. I
Mhm.
kind of fell off
That guy's a beast, a
later in the years,
beast.
but an absolute phenomenon. Um, those are really two. I had a dog named Carter years ago, like so. There are those are my two that I credit for sure as being early influences, and my tastes and things have evolved over the years, and so now I'm into some jazz, some really progressive kind of heavy stuff,
Right.
and so
Did
that's
you go through a Rush phase?
oh, Dave, don't be disappointed in me. I never did. I appreciate the talent. I do.
What?
I know. It's a blasphemous thing to say, but just I'm not a fan. I just never really got
Never
into
locked into it. No pun intended.
not
Wow.
for me.
Wow. Interesting. What about the old school Keith? I know the folks are already go. I don't want anybody, don't turn off your sets, folks. I know we're talking drums right now, but bear with me, okay?
Yeah, right.
What about the Keith Moon era? Did you
Oh,
ever
for
get into
sure.
like any? Oh,
For sure. And Bonham, I mean
yeah,
John Bonham
yeah,
is the inspiration for my worldwide audition.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that will
Yeah, I was a huge, still am a huge Who fan.
yeah.
Um, what was okay, so what was the age you actually started drumming?
I was about 15.
Really?
Yeah. So
All
pretty
right.
late, really, in like,
Yeah, that's really
in
kind of
life.
late. That's about the time I started playing bass.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
wish that I had started on this thing, like a lot of people when I was 3 or whatever, like
yeah, yeah,
because I'm
yeah.
just now getting into that. We'll kind of talk about that later as I'm working on some school for music theory. But yeah, I was 15. I had sung for a few years, and I just got into drums, and then it just never stopped.
Did you? I know. So seeing the keyboard there and saying what you just said. What was it? Just is it just keyboards now? Is there a guitar standing by someplace? Is
There's
there a pan flute up on the wall, or what do you got
no
going on?
pan flute. I do have some
Okay.
various instruments. We do have a couple of guitars from travels. Honestly, we bought a gorgeous Portuguese Coimbra. It's called a Coimbra, Coimbra, and we
Wow.
it's 12 strings. For the life of either of us, we can't play it, but it's a gorgeous piece of art on our
Yeah.
wall. My wife, we got her a Martin 5/8 size, I think, acoustic guitar, which is gorgeous, and then we have a uke from a trip to Hawaii where we bought, mango wood. So we have these beautiful
Yeah.
instruments out,
You
but
got
my primary instrument is still drums, and then I'm learning music theory as I kind of step toward retirement and maybe the next phase of
well,
my
that
life.
was my thought is why are you getting into music theory? Just for your benefit or for future benefit?
For future benefit, and I still
Yeah.
have a little bit of juice left on my GI Bill, so um,
Oh, there you go.
I might as well get all my money's worth.
I never thought about that. I
Yeah,
never thought about that.
so I have been, and this is going to tie into one of my closing foot is always embrace and look for ways to utilize your passion. Because I had 20 months remaining and I can do a 12 course professional certification from Berklee College of Music I might have to pay for a class or two out of pocket, but it's just been so much fun. I just finished this week's homework. I have it up still, a bossa groove on the piano. And so I'm learning a ton of stuff, which,
Wow.
yeah,
And what's awesome is that you have time to do it. I mean, obviously you have time to do all that.
you make time for what you want to do, right? Any of
You got to
us.
make time for it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got to make time for it.
Yeah.
So, okay, now let's go into your military story. Why did you enlist? I know you talked about a little bit at the beginning, but why did you enlist?
Yeah. I didn't really have a shot at college right out of high school. I was a mid student,
Mhm,
and we didn't really have, the resources to send me to college at the time, and so that was an option to get an education,
mhm.
to kind of get out and make my own way in some
Yeah,
capacity, right? You kind of become a part of this bigger thing, but you find your own way in it, and you
right.
find ways to both give and receive benefit. Um, and then it was just the Air Force was the easiest choice I've ever made. I went into the recruiter's office and there were a few different services and I was just the Air Force was for me. I won't go into much more detail there.
So, but you went straight to the Air Force recruiter. You didn't tap into the
I did
Army at
talk
all
to
to
a
get.
couple of the other recruiters. Yeah.
Okay.
The Army, I'll say jokingly that the Army folks, I remember there being 3 to 5 of them and they were kind of coming at me like this, we can
Yeah,
get you.
yeah.
And I'm like, chill, chill, guys. And the Air Force guy, he was just chill in his chair, kind of laid back. And I walked to his office. He's like, "What's up, man?" I'm like, "You're my guy. You're my guy."
Right.
So just an interesting vibe. And then um, none of the other services are really represented in there, but the Air Force was a great opportunity. Like I said, I went to Vandenberg, and then my first station was I lived on Peterson. I worked at Schriever, worked in GPS.
Mhm.
And then I found a band right away. So
Oh,
within
wow.
within the first couple of months, I found what ended up being a several years long rock band, some great lifelong friendships, and just always kept doing it. I had that same kit that I bought, the kit that I bought, I didn't mention after my beginner kit, the
Mhm.
nicer
Yeah.
kind of mid-level kit I brought to Colorado Springs, and then um, yeah,
So you're like me. I'm a huge rocket nerd, but I'm a huge space nerd. I mean, I I have absolute locked in memories of watching Apollo 11 on a black and white TV at a campsite,
yeah,
watching Neil Armstrong come down the ladder. I saw the whole thing. I became a rocket nerd in 1969,
yeah,
and I've been a rocket nerd. I watch all the launches that I possibly can. I've been to SpaceX. I've been down to Boca Chica. Been down to Starbase.
nice.
I absolutely love that. Are you excited about the Artemis mission?
I'm excited about it all. We just saw that new movie about space too, the Project Hail Mary the other
Oh,
day.
oh,
It
we're gonna
was
we're
so
gonna go
great.
this weekend. We're
It
gonna go
was
this.
so
Is it really
great.
good?
So
We're gonna go
great.
this weekend.
Yeah, the Artemis is a phenomenal, amazing thing. So I was
Yeah.
born after all the,
Oh yeah,
Apollo
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
have
yeah.
that especially as a kid. I can't imagine like the amount of awe, you've never stepped off of this planet before. Um, and
Well,
and
and we only had three channels back then, so you had
yeah,
no choice but to see what was going on in the world. I mean, whatever they fed you, and that was just it was again, those were amazing times.
yeah.
Um, in your career, I know, were you planning on making a career out of the whole military thing, or do you think you're going to do 4, 8, and then get out? What was your thought goal? But I mean, I know what you're doing now, but what was your
Yeah.
actual thought back then?
Yeah, no, just to be transparent, I opted for 6 instead of 4 right away because it was a slightly bigger bonus, like
Hmm.
a couple $1,000s more.
Yeah.
And then like I said, I wanted to go to school. I ended up not going to school, my first entire enlistment. And I met my beautiful bride in 2004, and we had started getting serious, and then it all kind of aligned um, right around the time that I was up for my first reenlistment. Am I getting out of the
Hmm.
military? Am I I'm going to have a family now. Am I going to pursue this? Am I going to go out on my own? I didn't have a degree, which in the field I was in, there are a lot of people that have had great careers, doing a couple years enlisted, getting the training, getting the clearance, and
Hmm.
then they get out and they work for X, civilian company doing kind of space ops stuff. But I felt at that time that my earning potential or growth potential in that field would be limited without a degree, which is true of many
Yeah.
fields. And so I opted at that point in 2006 we opted to, as newlyweds, get married. And then we moved the long distance from Schriever to Buckley. We lived in Aurora, Colorado, where many of the great events that led us to meet
Yep.
happened
Yep.
years later. And so,
Yeah. First of all, I'm wicked jealous of your career. I'm not going to lie. Again, because I'm a space nerd.
yeah,
And
been a
if
lot.
the Space Force had existed, I mean, there's just no doubt. I mean, well, let me back up. If there had been drones in my day, because I like to fly, I like to do a lot of photography and stuff. I mean, some of the stuff that you guys have now is just so amazing. And I'm like, oh, man, if that stuff had just been around, 40 years earlier, that would
Yeah.
have been, that would have been it. So the assignments wise, give me the list of your assignments again, where you've been at.
So I did the Front Range tour. I went Schriever, Buckley, Boulder.
Okay.
And then I went to Vandenberg kicking and screaming because we had been in Colorado for so long,
Yeah.
14 years. And then I realized they just kind of drink wine on the weekends and it's like 70 degrees all year round in Central California. And I was like, this is okay.
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah.
And then I put on Master E7, Master Sergeant at Vandenberg, and then commissioned out of there. Went to Boston, which is a bit of a homecoming. I mentioned I grew up in upstate New York, but I've got family all over New England, and Megan was
Mhm.
a Patriots fan when we met, so I know there's a little bit of blood between the Steelers and the Patriots, but you know,
We'll
we're
be okay. We'll be
we'll be
okay.
okay. And
Yeah.
so we ended up at Boston, which was close to my mom. We hosted Christmas for the first time in our adult lives, with family and Maine and Vermont. And then from there, I went to an industry fellowship. So I every year the Air Force and the Space Force still sends about 75, 100 or so folks out to industry to work at Apple, Google, Amazon, all the big firms, and then a bunch of venture capital. There's some logistics firms. There's all kinds of interesting things, and the relationships ebb and flow over the years. I ended up at a company in Pennsylvania, Exton, Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
called AGI. It was called Analytical Graphics Incorporated at the time, and it's since been acquired, and they kind of changed. The acronym is still the same, but I got to see how the other half lives, so to speak, right? So how does
Yeah.
industry
Yeah.
think about fiscal years and contracting and sales and international trade and sales and all the things. Um, and that led me to commissioning in the Space Force with the then Vice Chief of Space Operations, the second in charge of the Space Force, on May the 4th,
Wow.
2021. By the way, that's my nerd fact
Wow.
drop.
May the
Um,
4th.
very, very not by accident. And then I came to from Exton, I came to the DC area, and I just kind of restarted another 4 years last summer. So I should be here until 29, and then TBD on
Right.
what happens then. So
So now help me understand this again. You didn't you get commissioned while you were still in the Air Force or after you got in Space Force?
I was in the Air Force, yep. And
Okay.
so one of the things I love to talk about, and I've done commissioning a series of commissioning panels, talking to junior enlisted folks that are
Mhm.
interested. I went to OTS 4 times, OTS boards. I applied for the officer training program within the Air Force
Wow.
4 times. Once was right after tour. That was sequestration, which you've talked about with some of the other
Yep.
folks. That was a tough time. Um, and they basically took everybody that didn't have a STEM degree, science, technology, engineering, math, off the
Mhm.
candidate list. And then I moved, that was in Boulder, and then I moved to Vandenberg and I applied then 2 more times, non-select, and then finally a fourth time was picked up just after I put on Master Sergeant. Um, and so that was coming out of Thompson Blue. That's one
Yeah.
of the things that I credit that program and the challenges of uh, digging in and knowing, your true grit and your true, chutzpah or whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
press and making not taking no for an answer, which is really the mantra of how I got into OTS after all those
Well,
tries.
you're a tenacious young man.
Not so young anymore, but I do appreciate that. It's I think the last one, my wife was like, "We're done. If this isn't the one, then we're just gonna, you
Well,
know."
what do you think put you over the edge to get to that final, to finally go to OTS? What do you
Yeah.
think was the
So I started my master's. They grade you. It's very, very well laid out how they grade you, and there's um, criteria based on different things, and your undergraduate degree is what is graded. Uh,
Mhm.
but it can't hurt to have a 4.0 in a master's degree, right? And so I did an
Can't
organizational
hurt.
organizational leadership, which is similar to an MBA, which is again not a STEM, but I did really well. It was a lot of papers, and so I could do really well there versus just straight memorization and testing and things. Uh,
Mhm.
and so I think that, and then I also look for opportunities to lead. One of the greatest kind of things that somebody has done for me outside of Tops and Blue was I think he's a master then. Vernon Smith is chief now. He kind of took a gamble on me, and so at Vandenberg they had a quarterly awards luncheon. So you've probably seen something like this. They had like the
Mhm.
local leadership, mayor, and town council, and all the base and all this, and they would do this whole thing for, excuse me, the quarterly awards. And I was taking over for Vernon Smith as the kind of the chairperson of that event. And so you're
Okay.
working directly for the command chief, all up in his business or her business, executing their vision for a really high-end, prestigious event that brings honor, credit to the service, the people that are being nominated, all the people in attendance, local leadership. It was this whole big thing. And so that um, kind of, good things can kind of steamroll or snowball from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that was one thing I think that um, just looking for, and this is what I tell candidates as well interested in applying either one day or like now, you've got to find opportunities to lead. You have to, it's not just enough to do your job, to do your thing. You've got to
Right.
step out. You've got example, when I got when I got to JBAB, Joint Base Anacostia Bowling in DC, I went to the education center and I was like, hey, what's your like commissioning panel, cadence, or what do you guys do? And they were kind of in a rebuild, and no knock on them for not doing that, but they really didn't do it. And over the next several months and a couple of years, that kind of stood up this thing where it's like every couple times a year we do this panel where I bring a bunch of CGOs, company grade officers that are probably enlisted, and talk about
Mhm.
their journeys. And so that was something that was like my way to give back after,
Yeah.
experience I went through. So
What I'm fascinated to find out because I just flat out don't know. I don't know enough about the Space Force, other than the fact I wish I was in it. What is the biggest difference between the Air Force and the Space Force? Is it the same kind of structure? I mean, is it, I mean, are there Space Force recruiters?
yes.
Because I've never seen one.
Yeah, there's Space Force
Oh,
Honor Guard. There's it's highly mission focused. So that there, I doubt, this is Josh talking, by the way. This is not
mhm.
the views of the United States government. This is my
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
personal opinion.
yeah.
Um,
Gotcha.
I I I doubt there will ever be a Space Force lawyer or doctor or logistician or vehicle operator, right? It's a highly mission.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So it's
Yeah,
like,
okay.
just look at the size of the last time I remember a number of the Air Force, it was 330 something thousand people. The
Mhm.
Space Force is in the 5 to 10,000 range, very varying over the years. And so there's never going to be that breadth. And so we rely on the Department of the Air Force for all of that support. And so the biggest difference, it's hard to say because it came, a majority of people came from the Air Force, but now there's been a ton of other services.
Mhm.
They call them inter-service transfers, people coming from Marines, Army, into the Space Force, and a lot of civilians. So people coming in having no military experience, going, "This is the Space Force. Oh, it's new, cool. So am I. So let's do this."
Yeah, yeah,
There isn't that like bad, like guys like me that have been around for. I was in the Air Force over 20 years, so I have some like, you know, history and things of
yeah.
how this should be or whatever. So it's hard to say is the answer.
Yo, no,
Highly mission focused.
that's a fair answer. I mean, it's kind of a hybrid, right? It's a
Yeah.
bit of a hybrid. I mean, Space Command, um, kind of just became Space Force, right? Am I saying that wrong, or is that pretty much how it happened?
Not in a literal sense, but a lot of the functions. I
Yeah,
jokingly say, again, this is Josh talking,
yeah.
that I've been in the Space Force for 25 years, meaning I've worked on space programs and portfolios
Right, right,
in the
right.
Air Force. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Your whole life's been space. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Without giving away, you know, stuff that we can't talk about, obviously. But I'm curious to know what can you say in broad terms what your career is now? What do you do now?
Oh, sure. You had
Yeah,
me scared there. What are you going to ask?
yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
about the alien. No. Everybody asks about the aliens, my wife included.
yeah.
I'm a program manager, so I do cost schedule performance for space stuff. That's really,
Mhm.
I can
Okay.
definitely talk about that, which I did at Hanscom in Boston for a program. I did learning from a more fellowship, study sort of thing with industry, and then across various programs. Just like the Air Force has program managers, their
Right.
big hub is at Wright-Patterson, a few others around the world, but primarily there. And then now the Space Force's big hub is at what used to be Space and Missile Center, SMC, I think, over the years,
Okay.
is now Space Systems Command at LA. And so there's a broad range of space portfolios.
If you had to, if you were a recruiter right now and you had to make a pitch, and somebody said to you, a young man, a young lady comes up and says, "What's it like to be a guardian?" How would you pitch that back to him?
That's for you to find out because not many people have ever done it before. right? So
Ah,
we have these
yeah,
crazy, the my favorite of the ad of the slogans and campaigns that have been published of the sky is not the limit, right? So it's just this idea that you could be on the ground. That's what, other than it was a very obvious choice for me to join based on my
yeah,
experience. That was the biggest thing for me. It was, how do you not, right? How do you not step kind of into this thing as it's
yeah,
becoming, right? And so
yeah,
even now, and probably for several more years, we'll be in this kind of young enough to be able to shape it, and then look at that young man or woman coming in 20 years later as a master sergeant or lieutenant colonel or
yeah,
colonel or whatever their career drives
yeah,
them. What could they have accomplished? So
yeah. Again, when President Trump did that, I was like, I, this is the coolest thing ever. I thought this is going to be the most amazing thing ever. And it's turned out to be just such a great thing. Again, wicked jealous.
there
All
are
right.
two of us. I will say there are two of us, and I took a note and I met her
Oh,
briefly.
there are.
Yeah, I'll have to follow up with a note to you, Dave, so that I get her name correct. But there is another Guardian prior Tops and Blue. When I
Really?
went to Tom's retirement, I was like, I'm the only one, and I'm the only one that will
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
be.
Well, I was convinced. I was
Yeah, but
convinced. Yeah.
there are two of us that I'm
All right.
tracking. Maybe there's more. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. There might be more out there. If you are out there, please let me know, folks. I'd love to talk to you. All right. Now I want to talk about your road to blue. When did you see, if you did before you got to Worldwide, when did you see your first Tops and Blue show?
I never did.
Okay.
However, I have a very, very distinct memory of what I didn't know until years later was Worldwide when I was at basic training. So I saw a
Oh,
dude in the 2001. I was there January to February. So whoever
mm,
that dude is, please reach out to me because I'd love to say inspired me. Come out in civilian clothes, which was not a Tops and Blue show, right?
mm,
At the Worldwide,
yeah.
and we'll get to that and Huey's contribution to me. Um, but I recall a drum solo, like a good drum solo, as a basic trainee, and then like I said, I got to my first base. I joined a rock band. I never really, um, I never saw a Tops and Blue show. Yeah, all the years. I don't know.
So So how did you get to Worldwide then? Give me a road to Worldwide then. If you've never seen this show and
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
think, okay, I got to be that. Give me the whole path. Did you have to do base
Oh,
level talent contest? Did you have to do command levels or anything like that, or just send a tape in and go to Worldwide?
so the short answer is send a tape in, but I have to give you a little bit of background.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
so I was in at Buckley, and there was this thing called Guardian Challenge, which is part of our legacy and why we became Guardians. It was an Air Force
Mhm.
Space Command space competition where you would do different types of scenarios and there'd be
Okay.
all sorts of things. It was a whole thing. The bases, all the general officers, all the people would get into it and do these things as a kind of a esprit de corps. There'd be a huge amount of training and build up, and then you'd have this
Right.
massive like finale pep rally kind of thing. And so I was on the planning committee at Buckley when somebody on my wall behind me, I won't point him out directly, but was like, hey, Buckley needs a theme song. And people would pick like, you know, AC/DC or Metallica or something, the pep rally.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
knew that I was in a rock band at the time called Random Hero. And he said,
Great name.
do you guys want, do you guys want to write a song for the bass? And I was like, yes, let's do it. I was the only
Wow.
military member. They were all super, super patriotic American supporters of the whole thing. And so the guitar player, singer, and I got together and we took the Airman's Creed, which you probably remember.
Yep.
I know it came out after I had joined, but it's been around for some time. And we took kind of snippets of that and we wrote this rockin', head bopping rock anthem as the pep rally song for Buckley Air Force Base at the time.
Right.
The base commander absolutely loved it. So this '06 was a drummer and he loved it. He was Colonel Crozier retired as a general several years later, and he I'll never forget. We did this pep rally at Buckley. He got on stage, this pre-coordinated, he didn't surprise us, but he got on
Yeah.
stage and he played a song with the band and then he played a drum solo. And everybody in the audience lost their mind. Like, can you
I bet
imagine
they lost it.
a wing commander playing a drum solo is like the coolest thing that could ever be.
That would have been incredible.
And that kind of like talking about, good snowballing and steamrolling. So we did the thing at Buckley, and then the Peterson was the actual event, the actual
Yeah.
like culmination of this months long, different types of training things. And Buckley won, and so we got this big award and this whole big thing, and then the band played live at Peterson Air Force Base in front of like the entire Air Force Base Command leadership and all this stuff. And so then I had kind of the stink on me, right? They kind of knew in the field, right?
Yeah.
In the units that I was this had this extracurricular. And so I'm getting to the point, Dave.
No,
So
you're good. No, you keep going. I love
Buckley,
this. Absolutely love
yeah.
this.
So Buckley decided in 2011 to have a Buckley Idol. So at the local club, right? I mean, a lot of the bases and things,
Yeah.
they have these clubs, and they're like, we want to get people, and we want to sell,
Yeah.
stuff and bring esprit and all that. So Buckley Idol 2011, I went up against Keith Loudermill. Do you remember Keith?
Oh, I remember Keith.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that man is responsible for my following 15 years, 14 years later, right? So he absolutely demolished everybody as a performer. It was a talent competition. When I said, "Hey,
Right.
I'm a drummer, can I perform?" They're like, "Cool, sure, yeah, of course." Like they just wanted to get people in seats and
Yeah.
have a good time. And I won second, but far, far, behind Keith. And this was in November of 2011. And he said, "Hey, man," he still had his gold sequins, and
Did he?
you can't see it here, but I want to talk a little bit about how some of these people have played key roles later, where he sang the national anthem at my promotion to captain in the National Archives in front of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States, like Keith Loudermill. And he said, "I think I'm going to be quiet." I'm like, you better sing that song, my friend.
Wow.
A lot of interweaving, yeah. So Buckley
That's
Idol,
crazy cool.
Keith Loudermill goes, "Hey, you should, here's this Tops and Blue thing." And so back to my, bluff earlier, I
Yeah.
submitted a video, a YouTube video to the thing to, I don't know if it went straight to Terry or whoever, and that was it. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't eat, and this is my confession. They know that this happened, but I didn't even tell my commander. I didn't even tell anybody because I'm like,
Oh,
I don't
wow.
read, I don't read music. I'm not, I didn't know
Yeah.
the difference between the band and Tops and Blue, which you've talked about in this,
Yeah.
where the Air Force band and the other services bands are bachelor's and master's level
Yeah.
performance trained musicians, sight
Right.
reading, absolute experts in their field. Tops and Blue has the talent, but it doesn't have that barrier of entry to where you could come as a novice, like I did, and I have my cheat sheet of my very best
Yeah.
lead sheets that I highlighted to code myself because I didn't read the actual language of music. Uh,
Right. I had to
anyway,
do this exact. I did it. I had to do the exact same thing, man. I
yeah.
was in the exact same boat. The exact
So
same boat.
So I didn't tell my commander. I went to Worldwide. We met there. I'm pretty sure. I think I've seen you anytime I was ever in San Antonio with this
Yeah.
program. And I did well there. Talk a little bit about that. And then when I came back, well, I don't want to jump ahead. You kind of got the
No.
timeline.
Yeah. No. It's it's fascinating to me. When I talk to folks that have come up through the system, there's so many uh not comparisons, but like you just said, you couldn't read. I couldn't read music hardly at all. A little bit. And I do this. We didn't have Barry when I was in. We had Terry Griffey, but he didn't give us chord charts. He gave us actual notation charts.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but it's fascinating to me that there's so many commonalities between some of the folks that came up. And like you said, they aren't trained musicians, didn't go through the school, didn't go to all the various high-end music schools, and but still became such and you're a perfect example, became such amazing performers. And it's just I get goosebumps talking about this because it's such a thrill to talk to people that have done that exact same thing you did. Coincidences happen,
Yeah.
things happen at local bases. You meet somebody at the shop at and says, "Hey, I play drums," you know, and it's
That's
just
usually how I open conversations. Yeah.
but that's so cool though.
Yeah.
Where else, what other music program that you end up touring the globe, where a coincidence happens where you meet somebody that happened to be in Tops and Blue. And you just happen to mention, hey, I play drums, and next thing you know, you're off and gone.
Yeah.
It's just totally fascinating. Okay, so I know you mentioned Huey. So I got my little question over here. What prior, if any, pre-prepped you? Although I know you said Keith, but any other priors pre-prep you for any of this stuff?
Like before
Like,
worldwide?
yeah, give you some advice, some
Oh
hints,
no,
anything like
nothing.
that? You just went.
I just went. Keith told me a bit about it. We talked a little bit before I submitted the video, and then I just kind of went in blind. Um, once they said go ahead and come down to San Antonio.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
It's so crazy.
yeah,
And it happened more often than not.
right,
It
right.
happens a lot.
Um,
Um, when you got to Worldwide and you walked in the theater for the first time during opening ceremonies, what was your range of emotions?
it
Do you
was a
remember
lot.
do you remember walking down the aisle in between the curtains, heading down to the seats?
Oh
And they
no.
had fanfare, I think it was fanfare that was playing on over the system.
I knew you were gonna. I've watched a few of these. I knew you were gonna hit me with something that would be a total blindside that I hadn't thought of. Because of course I try to think of
You
everything.
can't plan for everything,
I
Josh.
know,
Come
right?
on, man.
So I don't recall walking down, but I do recall the 2011 show with Max Hewlett
Yeah.
on drums up way up. He was way up on a thing.
Hmm.
So I'll never forget that. I don't recall like the descending from or any of that. But the first time, I guess that is really the first time you see anything is like the show, right? And
Yeah.
it's kind of on
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah.
Uh, and so it was like, wow, what is this?
Yeah.
Like
What did I
the
get
whole thing.
myself into?
Yeah, this is a whole thing, and they're super tight, and they're all, really crisp in their movements, and they're executing the music and all that. I do remember that. Yeah.
What was the piece that you sent in on your tape?
I don't think I prepared a song and sent in. I think I used because I literally just kind of gobbled something together. I think I used some
Mhm.
from Random Hero, which um, that was kind of a natural end point for me with this band. And there was a period of time right before Tops and Blue, as Kismet as it was, that I was considering, separating from the military and going full time. Um, Something I wanted to mention as well is, Tops and Blue allowed me to keep serving and keep providing
Mhm.
my wife, keep get another year towards retirement and all that. So the
Yeah.
timing of the tour was unreal. Um, but I think I lost track trying to get one of my own points in there, Dave. What was the question again?
Uh, well, yeah, I forgot now already too. We started with what was your feelings when you went down there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 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 fast it's fascinating to me that when folks come into that theater, and I've done a trillion, seems like a trillion worldwides, when they walk down and they're walking through a tunnel just to like the first 5 rows of seats, and that's it. To see the expressions in everybody's face
Yeah.
when they come down there and they're doing this. They're just looking around, and the fanfare is playing over the system. Then obviously Tom comes out and whatnot. Um, I'm always blown away when I talk to these folks how they were just unprepared and shocked just by the opening salvo of Tops and Blue.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. I mean, and that was all by design, right? Everything was by design.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So your team leaders were, if
Oh,
I remember right, was it me and Max and Will? Who are your team leaders and the instrumentalists?
Aisha. Oh, and the instrumental.
Yeah, and your team leaders, your general team leaders.
Yeah, Huey was definitely one. Aisha, and JC, and then I know you, Dave, and then I don't
Mhm.
recall when the worldwide and staging kind of blended together, but I think you go back a minute because you asked me about what I sent in. Moby
Yeah,
Dick song.
yes. Oh, okay, all right.
Moby Dick. And I absolutely did not attempt John Bonham solo. I played the song up to that point, and then I played a Josh Tarrant solo
Right,
uh,
right.
out of respect and I won't say inability, but that's a legendary solo that nobody should ever
Oh
try
yeah,
to
yeah,
recreate verbatim, right?
yeah.
Uh, so that was my not prepared sent in for worldwide, but that was the
What
song.
did you think of all the I mean, you had to do appointments, you had to do interviews. Did you have to interview with Tom? Did you interview with Chief?
I did know you were going to ask that. I honestly don't recall the ins and outs of
That
the.
means you probably didn't.
Yeah,
Probably didn't.
I really don't. It was kind of a wash,
Yeah.
honestly.
So that to that point was Worldwide just a big blur?
There were a few moments. I always remember you
Yeah,
know,
give me your highlights of Worldwide.
somebody bringing a Diet Coke to the boss, little things that
Yeah,
stuck. It's like, oh, okay. He loved his China symbol, for the walk off or whatever. Somebody bring out
right.
a China symbol on. Um,
That was at the dance. That was at the dance.
yeah,
The
the
dance.
dance
Yeah.
thing. I remember that was just as awkward as I'm sure anybody that doesn't dance,
Oh,
because you had
well,
to. Um, let let's go back a little bit, not too far,
sure.
but the dance thing. So just to paint, like for those that don't know the program at all, they're watching, because I'm going to share this with family and friends. Like
Yep.
when you go to Worldwide, you have to audition as any instrument you can play, singing and dancing. Like you
Correct.
cannot not audition on singing or
Yep.
dancing. You can
You have
lie
to
and
go
say,
to. You have to go to those.
I don't
Yep.
play an instrument. You can lie if you don't, but
Yep.
you have to go to those. And so there was this element of like, you never know. And they would find talent where people weren't expecting to present talent, right? Which
Right.
is
Right.
what happened with somebody specifically on my tour who didn't audition for what he ended up touring for. And
Yep.
I'm sure
Happened a lot.
and so
A lot.
yeah.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I remember the fanfare, and then a lot of the busyness and the things, and some of the people that I ended up touring with, Joey K, um, and then some people that didn't tour, but we still have a friendship who I just recently saw. And so it's, that piece is what I kept from it, was the few kind of interactions and relationships versus, recalling the craziness of
Yeah.
um,
And then you took second place. Now
took
you and I have something. You and I have something in common. We both got beat by bass players.
by bass players. Yeah, Kyle laid it on, man.
You
He
did.
came out sticking. I'm sure you remember
Oh yeah.
his
Yeah, yeah.
performance, because he was cheesing beyond belief, and
He worked it. He worked it. He
loving
picked a
everything.
good tune too. To his
Yeah.
to his credit, he picked a good tune.
What was the tune? I don't remember that.
It was Frankenstein.
Oh, that's our tour opener.
Yep. That's
I
how it
do
became your
remember
tour
that now.
opener.
That's how it became
Yep.
a tour opener. Yeah.
Yeah, these
Because
things are starting to come back now, aren't they?
preparing for, what was your favorite song on the tour, was going to be Frankenstein. But I
Yeah.
forgot he did Worldwide with that. Um, and so Huey, like the night of Worldwide,
Mhm.
leading up to the thing, I was in a rock band. I generally dress in, solid dark colors. And
Right.
I
I know
just,
where this is
I
going.
have to say, like, Huey gave me the shirt off of his back to
Yeah.
stand out, because I was just gonna melt into the stage, right? I didn't have
Right.
something on. And then we kind of developed this shtick where I started the song with headphones, over ear, drummer kind
Mhm.
of headphones,
Yep.
and I play for a bit, and then I kind of stand up and I like kind of took them off, all big and dramatically as you do on stage, and then like through the headphones, like I don't need those, and then went into the solo.
Yep.
And that was a part, I imagine, a part of why I took second place, but still have no candle to Kyle's performance that day.
Well, when talking to the drummers over the many seems like decades, um, there was drummers that put, and we may have discussed this at Worldwide that you're not gonna remember, but we had drummers that put confetti, not confetti, but like well, I guess it's confetti on the snare. So when they're
Yeah,
doing around the snare, we had a drummer one year that insisted, and we actually made this work, but we couldn't, for some reason it got canned. He put a sheet behind his drum kit about shoulder level, and he tossed his sticks over his shoulders like this. And the way it was built, it came down these sheets like a slide
hmm.
and right back to his hands again. And
That's
it, and it worked like one out of every four times.
yeah,
So we like, all right. But drummers are interesting because you want to play your best. You got 4 minutes or so to
yeah,
figure out, you know, you have to peak for those 4 minutes,
yeah.
right? But you also have some sort of, not gimmick, but I guess that's the only word I can come up with right now. Gimmick to
Some
take
sort
you
of
just past
theatrical, entertaining
some
value.
theatrical piece, some
Yeah.
theatrical bit to take you over the edge. And yeah, you nailed it, man. You freaking nailed it. A lot of drummers just want to play. They want to concentrate and look at their stuff. And I don't
Yeah,
blame them for doing that because you want to be accurate as a musician.
sure.
But the stage is yours for 4 minutes. What are you going to do with it?
And I had always I didn't intend to do this, but I was like, I should probably have some drumsticks in front of me. But I had always done these kind of stick flips as I'm playing, where
Yep. Yep.
without rehearsing it, but it's been a while.
Yep.
So I'm always trying to kind of be a
Yeah.
little more visual when I'm
Yeah,
performing.
the stick twirls, the tosses. We had a gentleman one year that forgot to put his stick bag out, his spares, and he played half of it with his hands and
Yeah,
then came out around the drum kit and played around the drum kit. I mean, creative stuff that he just knew he had to do
yeah.
because he just forgot. I was surprised that the text didn't say, "Hey, where's your spares?" But I mean, what are you going to do? So,
Yeah.
all right. So now you're a Wilco winner. Worldwide is over. When did you find out that you made the tour? When
I
you
was
got
in,
home?
yeah, I was in the second, I forget if it was the deputy director of operations or whatever, the second guy
Mhm.
office, and Jerry called and said, "Yeah, I remember that very, very vividly." And then it was like, "Oh, you applied for top." I think he knew at that point, but when I went to Worldwide, um,
Yeah,
I
you had to lay it on him after the
I
fact,
had it
right?
told, yeah. Well, they had to obviously approve my TDY and all that, but
Yeah,
when it was the surprise was, hey, I applied for this thing, and they asked me to go to San Antonio like tomorrow or next week or something.
yeah, yeah.
So on my list of people to thank, that our kind of superintendent, first sergeant, wearing both multiple hats at the time, Jen Filkey, and then Kevin, Chad, and Q for covering down while I was gone, because like for those that don't know the program, it's a permissive TDY. The unit doesn't get a backfill,
Mhm.
because you're only gone for up to that 10, 12 months. So my unit, it was a small unit, and they had to take one in the chin and really support me. And so I again owe this whole journey in many parts to them as well, for covering down and for approving it, because you don't have to
Mhm.
let somebody go.
Yeah.
Your job is there. So wanted to make sure that I thank those folks.
Well, I mean, it's awesome that they got behind you. They were all for it, and you
Yeah,
represented the base. And a
yeah,
lot of a lot of a lot of squadrons, a lot of bases, even at the Wintlet, didn't give their folks the backup, even
yeah,
though they won. They're kind of pissed that they went. And
yeah,
and when I made it, Dover was we had two people from Dover that year, and they were just signs were up on the marquees and the clubs. They put stuff at the front gate, and congratulations, Tech Sergeant Jackson, and all. I mean, it was nuts. But if you didn't have the support, that was a tough thing. There's folks that came back to their base and that they went back to the shop and they got all kinds of guff and you're back off skating for 10 months and blah 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 blah.
I won't go
Yeah,
into one
yeah.
of those stories, but and then just a slight spoiler for later, not to get into more detail, but my commander at the time who let me tour, his
Huh?
his wife his wife at the time was a captain. All those years later, as a lieutenant colonel, she recruited me for a job that I had,
Oh,
recently. And so it's like you never know how you're gonna,
yeah,
influence
right.
somebody's life, how they're gonna come back in your life out of nowhere, how you can influence their life. So I just want to say again, thanks to Chris and Katie Sullivan for that over many
That's awesome.
years, having great influence on my career.
Well, it's well, first of all, you don't know who's going to support you. You don't know when you're going to see him again. You don't want to burn any bridges,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. All right. So now you've made the team. Now you're thinking to yourself, this is the most awesome thing in the world, or what did I get myself into? Which way did you go?
Probably 70-30 at that point, like right
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
You talk to a lot of, I mean, the majority of priors are vocalists, right? Just by numbers. The band experience was very different. I think it was
Hmm.
far, I would say it's a bit less traumatic, if I could be
Yeah,
so bold. It is hard. Um,
I would agree.
it is hard, and you're challenged in your craft. You're
Right.
challenged in a way, and physically and mentally, in the sleep and the, smile and perform, all that stuff. But you're challenged in the thing that you love, and so there's that drive. I found that a lot and I wasn't a vocalist, and I didn't experience staging from their perspective, but a lot of what they were learning was like, oh, I got to learn this thing to be here. I have
Yeah.
to learn how to do this thing so that I can. Um, and they weren't ever necessarily passionate about that thing, and that's not a negative statement, and I don't mean it in that way. It's just
Well,
a different experience.
the vocalists were competitive, right?
That's
They,
it. There's
the
only one
vocalists were
drummer.
competitive. Yeah, there's only one drummer. Your gig is your gig.
Yeah, broken hand or not, we'll come back to
Yeah,
that.
that's right. It's
Yeah,
your gig.
yeah.
When you got to Lackland, tell me about your experience at staging. I love these staging stories. Tell me
Yeah.
about your experience at staging.
I mean, it was a grind. It was a long time. I'm gonna reach for one of my several props that I prepared because I did keep my
Awesome.
and so I'll show you the opening number and my crazy scratches that, and I can scan a copy of this.
Oh, look at that. Yeah,
Together.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Basically, I color coded my chart so that I could
Smart
understand.
man. Smart
Uh,
man.
and so a lot of it was getting into that. But the real challenge in as far as um, performing and being able to flow with the many changes as things changed was, when Barry or somebody would pick up in the middle, oh, we're gonna cut two bars off the end of the bridge and go in back into
Right.
the chorus early,
Yeah.
and doing that sort of like edit room, splicing and things like that was a real challenge. Um, I got very close with our keyboard player who, um, you know, ended up taking his own life in 2019. And so that's
Oh,
still been a struggle. Um, but in the rest of the band, we still talk now and then, but um, you're just kind of in it. You're just this is where we live now, right? You're in it for, I don't know, 6, 7 in the morning until 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at
12, 1
night
and 2
or later,
o'clock. Yeah.
or and you're being challenged in ways that you didn't see coming, and I would say everybody had a baseline, everybody in the band at least had a baseline of excellent talent. But that's where you start,
That's
right?
where you start. Yep.
Yeah. And so it was
Yep.
really getting into
They,
that.
did they send you a bunch of, did Barry send you guys a bunch of music ahead of time before you got to staging that you could start getting your chops up?
I don't recall. It was pretty quick. I mean, it was,
Oh, that's right. You went right shortly right after, right?
yeah,
So we had a few months.
yeah, no, it wasn't a few months. I don't recall
Okay.
exactly, but
Yeah,
it
they
was a
probably
pretty quick
didn't then.
turn, and it was kind of get your life in order and get ready. Some people moved out of apartments or various things depending on your family
Right.
situation. I was married and Megan stayed where we were, but no, I don't recall any pre pre-work or anything.
How long did it take when you were in staging? And it took me probably till about 2 weeks into stage, maybe 3 weeks into staging, where I learned because of all the medleys we did that you learn the chorus, learn the verse, learn the outro, next song. Not the whole tune.
Yeah,
Except you knew like the patriotic stuff was gonna be the whole tune. A lot
yeah,
of the jazz stuff's usually the whole tune. But the pop sets a medley, just chop, 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 chop.
yeah.
Did you go through the same type of thing where you just said, I just need to learn this much, and this much because we know they're gonna chop it up. Did you ever go through, or did you just learn the whole songs?
Yeah, I think I just learned the whole song. We didn't really do medleys. We did a big long Michael Jackson piece. You may remember Ty Jones was a
Yep.
phenomenal impersonator, and so that drove a whole portion of our set. And oftentimes people, when I start doing the math, like, where were you in 2012? Oh, I was here. Do you remember did you see Top of the Yeah, do you remember Michael Jackson? Oh yeah, that's usually
Yeah,
the
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but the rest of the songs were spliced here and there, but I don't recall any a significant
Real
amount of
medleys.
melodies. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
pretty much just learned each song, and I was learning the electronic. Well, everybody kind of learns the new instrument there, but I was learning like how to operate the brain, the electronic drum kit, which I never
Was
played
it was it
before.
was it a full kit, electronic kit?
It was completely electronic. The only pitched instruments that were acoustic were the horns,
Yeah.
and that came into play when we would lose power in the middle of a set, which
Yeah, you
happened.
gotta have the horns. Yep.
So in order to keep the singer's pitch from going, down the street, the horns would keep them in key, which is good. But I would just keep blasting away on the pads for timing with no audible noise coming from anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I had so the 93 was the first year of the full electronic kit. And I'll never forget when they open up. We're the first night we get to, the introduction night when Tom and everybody had everybody at the bottom of the floor at the production center. They opened up the curtain on the stage, and there was a brand new electronic kit. And I can remember Roy, our drummer, phenomenal drummer, just playing with that thing all night. Getting it set up, wiring it,
Yeah.
just tweaking it out. But what got me is Roy and I became very tight, drummer, bass player, obviously. But because of the acoustic sound I would hear first versus
Yeah.
it was tough, man. I really had to learn time again because of that. Because I would hear it because he didn't have what were the cymbals made of on that kit that you had? Were they rubber? What were they made out of? What were the
Yeah, they were
cymbals made of?
rubber mesh heads and rubber cymbals.
We had metal bars,
Yeah.
orange bars,
Yeah.
tubes, and
They're
you would hear think,
pretty rudimentary, yeah, the early editions.
and
And
they
I
broke
will,
sticks. He broke sticks. So he
yeah.
would say, he'd be playing, we'd be in the middle of whatever song, and I was always right next to Roy in one level or another, and he would say, shrapnel, which means a stick's about to break. And I had to like turn my head and play. So I'm glad you didn't have to go through all that. That's
That
my
was
little rant about drum kits.
one of my large fears about touring was just drop a stick and it go rogue and somebody get hurt because people are flying across the stage.
Yeah,
Thankfully, I was the only one that got hurt on stage, but nobody was a victim to my rogue stick. But every now and then I drop one and somebody would see it and I would just be staring at it and playing the whole time, like, oh gosh. Um, I will tell you, Dave, if you'd asked me who did you get along with least on tour,
hmm
it would be the hi-hats, the electric hi-hats. And
yeah,
and to your point earlier, if we only had that technology now, the digital versions that are out now are worlds better, but man, did I struggle with those hi-hats because the hi-hat is like the essence of a drum kit and the feel.
hmm
So to play the electric hi-hats in a more rudimentary fashion where they didn't respond very
yeah,
well,
yeah,
it drove me
yeah.
nuts. And so I would
Well, there's latency, right? There's latency.
there's latency and there's variations in how your pedal expresses or depresses in the
Oh, that's
intent
right. Yeah,
like building from a verse to a chorus or et cetera. So the technology's there now. I wish I could have had that then, one of those, but that was the that kit, man. I was like me, I would get out, I would take it out of the case and I'd be like, ah.
right, right. Did you ever try talking them into getting something to replace that with? Or you just stuck with it? Did you ever talk to Barry and say, "Can we do something with this?"
I knew that an acoustic kit was never going to happen, but I
Yeah.
will do believe that I was the first, maybe in the world that I knew, right, in the last couple of years, first person to use a double bass drum pedal. And I feel that I was the first because they gave me such a hard time about having to go buy a double bass drum pedal because I'm like,
Oh, interesting.
play a double pedal. Like I don't care if I'm playing a pop tune or a swing, like I have a double pedal. That's what I play.
Yeah,
Uh, and so I decided to take that win and not go any further with
yeah. That's true. That's
uh,
true. Yeah, good point. That's a good point. Do you remember the first show you played? The very first show at the
absolutely I
at the
do.
theater?
I
The
and
Bob
I
Hope?
um oh, was it the Bob? No, I was thinking of the Riverwalk because I was just
Oh, you guys,
I
you guys might have done like a mini show, right? Did you guys do a
yeah.
mini show at the Riverwalk? Oh,
And
okay. How'd that go?
so I I played. I mentioned the band. We did a backing track, and so got very used to playing with the click, which there's orchestration, and bands now do it
hmm
all the time.
Yep.
And so when I started on the TD-20, I was like, okay, well, what tempo is this song? Then I'm going to set the tempo. I'm going to play to a click, and it's going to be that tempo, whether I'm in Clear Alaska or
Yeah. Yeah.
Cuba, wherever we were playing, not Cuba.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was the first show because it was the entire staging. We were indoors in moderate air conditioning in San Antonio,
Yep.
and the first show was in May, and it was hotter than
Yep. Yep.
hell, and the LED panel was completely unreadable, and so I had no idea what kit. So each song was a kit, and so the drum kit had like 100 kits, and so if there was like a maraca sound, or a not maraca, I can't think of the Spanish instrument that's in I Want to Dance with Somebody, that castanets, that
Castanets. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
there's that sound, then I want that on this pad. But then in
Yeah.
another song, I want like a timpani sound on this. So each song had its own kit. And so normally I would just go next, next, and I would build
Next.
with
Next.
that.
Yep. Each song has its own programming.
Yep. So basically that first show was completely useless. And and then we hadn't practiced as a full band without a tempo, which is bad in some ways.
Yeah.
and I didn't have a back, most bands tour with like a primary and a backup laptop,
Right.
completely
Right.
independent, independent power sources, all that. And so that was a tragic thing where I was just watching the singers, and if they turn around like, we're going too fast or we're going too slow. After that, I figured out I made a little sunshade out of duct tape and cardboard and figured out how to heat load shed my
How to
my
adapt. You figured out how to adapt.
yeah, exactly. So other than the power loss a couple of times, I managed to keep the kits and the tempos all squared away.
So uh our first show, just real quick, because I love because it's drummer related. Again, first electronic kit. We weren't poor Roy. The mallet came off within the third song, completely dislodged. The Allen wrench and mallet just disappeared. So
Mm,
he didn't have any kick drum the rest of the show. So there's that. And my bass fell from about 12 feet up, bounced off the floor, got caught by one of the folks backstage because the hook they wanted me to hang it on during a close change, during a
mm.
set change, the bass just fell off the hook, bounced. He grabbed it. I'm changing clothes. He gives it back to me. Bass was completely dead,
Yeah,
completely dead. I didn't, from after the jazz set, I had a bass. The rest of the show was no bass. When they brought me a spare bass in the middle of the show, it had no battery. They brought me a bass with no battery in it. So my
yeah,
first show was completely bassless and we had no bass drum.
yeah. Oh,
First show funds, man.
first
First
show
show
fun.
funds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to know about because again, I didn't know that your tour was called or the show was called Listen. Explain that theme to me. Explain that theme to the folks.
Yeah, well, a lot of the songs, Listen to the Music was one of the first songs, maybe if not the second song after Frankenstein. Listen, the song titled by Beyonce. And that was just basically the theme throughout. Listen to Your Heart. It was a whole heart set. It was like love songs.
Okay.
Did like Set Fire to the Rain and various other. Um, and so there were some, I think a lot of the shows had like monologue, speaking parts in
Some
between
of
where
them did. Yep.
one of the
Yep.
vocalists would kind of
Yep.
do a segue from one set to another. And so we had like the the opener, and then we had a heart set, we had the Michael Jackson set, we had a love set. So a song I haven't heard for years until recently, I forgot that we even played, was Love Can Move Mountains, which is just a banger. Early Celine Dion, uh,
Mm-hmm.
just a great ballad. And so that was the overall theme, Listen to Your Heart. I think I said that one.
Listen to your heart. All
Yeah.
right. All
But it
right.
was like the really, really fast version,
Yeah. Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
everything.
Triple the tempo.
Triple tempo. Yeah.
What was there any song that just gave you goosebumps you could not wait to play as a drummer? Any one of your sets, song that just you just could not wait to get to. That just was you.
Yeah. We did well, it wasn't me actually. It was very much not me until,
But affected
no,
you,
no.
gave you the goosebumps that you couldn't wait to play.
Yeah, it was Colder Weather, which is a Zach Brown song, country in the country set.
Okay.
And I forget the lyric right now, but it was effectively he was out and his other was in Colorado, which is where my wife was. And so that one, like
Yeah.
every time still, I even just now just kind of felt like because she came out a lot to San Antonio and a big leg in California, but for most of the
Mm.
time she was home doing her master's degree and going through some back issues. So it was like there was always that moment in the show where I would just, think about
Oh,
her.
you think about your girl,
Yeah, of course,
right?
of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then we just
As a drummer though, what song you just couldn't wait to play?
the opener. The opener was Frankenstein. It was just,
Yeah.
you know, again, I hadn't seen any Top Slump shows before. I saw the couple after and helped with the teams there, but
Mhm.
it felt like you open a rock show with Frankenstein, right? And so that was for me. It was like, come
Yeah.
on out and do this. And then for a while, I had a solo, which was a lot of fun. I forget where it was in the set. Probably, it's usually two-thirds of the way through or so. Um, and then we again this kind of shticky thing.
Yeah.
Uh, I would kind of play for a bit, and then I don't know who came up with the idea, but K2 behind me to my right would come up with a blindfold, and she would blindfold me. And then from the audience perspective, they're like, "Oh my God, how can you play a drum solo with a
Right, right.
blindfold on?" For a drummer, is like I put that there and it hasn't moved, and so I know where it is.
Yeah.
Uh, but I did this whole shtick with a and just it was like at the end of it where it was just all throttle,
Right.
a lot of double bass flare,
I love that. All
slams
throttle.
and
I
things
love
like
that.
that. Yeah. Um, and then that was, ended abruptly in October when you mentioned you're getting off stage and changing. I had
Yeah.
one costume change. The band had one costume change, and I was coming back up the stairs in a hurry, and I landed on my finger, tripped, landed on my finger, broke my third metatarsal. Metatarsal. I'm not a medical professional. If that's the wrong term, please don't flame spray.
There's tarsals and carpals.
Yeah, I broke this
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah. Right there.
My
Yeah.
ring,
Right
my
there.
ring finger. So I had to get my ring, my wedding. This isn't my original, but the wedding ring resized multiple times as the finger swelled. It was in Crown in the UK. It was, I think, our first show in the UK. And I got back on stage. I finished the set. I do remember I couldn't hold the drumstick, but at one point I'm like, well, maybe I'll just play the hi-hat with my hand. And then I remember excruciating pain.
Wow.
The
That's a
break thing
brave move.
all or yeah. Somehow made it through the rest of the show. And then, of course, everybody goes immediately. We do the playoff, the Air Force song and the vocals
Mhm.
all run out, and then the band. As
Yeah.
soon as I broke the plane of the stage and I was in audience view, I crumbled to the floor in agony because I had broken. It's very
Yeah.
painful. Um,
Wow.
and
So
we
that ended the drum solo era.
At the end of the drum solo, we developed a guitar and saxophone kind of dueling solo with
Hmm.
DVR and Wynton, which was
Yeah.
awesome. And it was really playful, and the audience loved that as well. But I ended up going, I missed a couple of the fun times in the UK because I went to a music store to buy another pedal because I didn't tour with a spare kick pad and pedal. And so I learned to play the entire 90-minute, Mach 5 set with the
Right.
snare on my left foot. So instead of,
Oh,
boom, bop, boom, boom, bop, it
yeah.
was left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. And
That's a real good adaptation.
I spent several of the break days and evenings and stuff like with a modified small setup trying to get through it. And it made it work. I mean, it wasn't as flashy. I didn't do much visually for that couple of months, but I was able to keep time and keep going. I wasn't going to, relent and give somebody else the cup.
Yeah, see, that's it right there. You
Um,
weren't gonna let that go, man. You
yeah,
weren't
there
gonna
was,
let that go.
and I'll never know the guy's name. But and that's another my last prop, maybe my last prop. But I kept, of course, the cast that I wore
Look at you. Look at
with
you.
the whole team sign. Yeah, a few little trinkies in the.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
but one person noticed this that I played on stage with it after we were outside talking to the audience, and he kind of looked at me and he's like, He looked down at my arm and he's like, you're the drummer, right? You played that whole show? And I was like, yeah. I don't remember if he was in
Yeah.
uniform or not, but he coined me. He was a brigadier general, and
Oh,
he coined me.
nice.
I was
He
like,
coined you too.
okay,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So that was a really special memory. But the rest of the time was just figuring out how to do it, and then doing it. I had some problems, obviously doing staging, like
Yeah.
setting up all the things, like because I was
Yeah.
kind of a one paw critter for a little bit, but.
Yeah. One paw critter. Explain the set, the actual stage set to me. What would you guys have going on? Was it like three sections? Was there
Yeah, it was
mechanics involved? Was there
it
any
was level,
motors?
man. It was levels. Seinfeld reference
Just
there.
levels, levels, levels
Yeah,
everywhere.
so
Levels.
so it was like regular, stage dance floor, drummer, guitar. Well, people cycled throughout, but then there was a thing there, and then the top row um, was a lot of the horns, the vocalists. Everybody would kind of move around,
Mm,
uh, and then the backdrop was several versions of um, these kind of diamond. They kind of changed a little bit of the visual throughout the set.
mm.
We did also play with a click after Kyle. So Kyle, the bass player, ended up leaving
Mhm.
for health reasons, and we played the Michael Jackson set with a video for a while. It was pretty
Oh, wow.
tough. It was the tech. I don't know what the root problem was, but a lot of times the video would get unsunk or something like that, or we wouldn't get it, and then we would just kill it, and then it would just kind of be it.
Wow.
Without bass, it's pretty empty, right? Bass really fills
Yeah, 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 yeah.
more than
Yeah.
most.
I don't remember. Refresh my memory. Who ended up playing bass for you guys after Kyle left?
Nobody toured.
No,
Lorenzo
nobody.
came. No, Lorenzo came for a bit. Whenever
Huh?
we did shows local, Lorenzo was probably there the most. Lorenzo Sands, who was a huge influence on me,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
huge absolute
he's one of the cats, man.
star. Yeah,
Sandman's one of the cats.
and maybe you can put a link or something, but like I did two different rock and metal albums before I toured and with the
Hmm.
same two projects after I toured, and it's crazy to listen to how much more in tune with the songs I was afterwards.
Hmm.
Still metal and rock, but like I was just playing, I was overplaying a lot, doing a lot of things that like, oh, I think this would be really cool if I just smash this in here, right at the
Yeah.
front of this section or whatever. And
Yeah.
so I give great respect to Lorenzo for, um, he would get frustrated with me at times when I would be a untrained rock drummer and be,
An aggressive rock drummer.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So he
Yeah.
would,
I got,
have
I
me
got
lock it in
pegged,
the pocket, lock it in.
dude. I got pegged for Bernie Roan got on me one time because I was too aggressive as a rock bass player
Yeah.
because I
Jam
always dug
part
in,
of
man. I just dug in. So and Bernie was like, you need to
put some,
it's not
put a
all power chords, Dave.
sexy on it, right? Put a little
Yeah.
sexy on it. Yeah.
Um, what special shows did you guys do? Did you guys do any really cool special shows? Any special events?
We did an Air Force Space Command thing. I forget what the thing was, but it was a um I don't remember what the event was called, but it was a for
Mhm.
the Air Force Space Command, and that was the second time that I was coined by the four-star general commander of the Air Force Space Command for playing drums. Um,
That's amazing.
which which is actually the first one was behind me with Random Hero doing that whole thing with Guardian Challenge.
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
went to meet General Kaler at the time, and then General Shelton at Peterson for the again I can't recall the purpose of the event, but it was an Air Force Space Command
Mhm.
celebratory event that Tops and Blue
Yeah.
played. It was like a modified show. Um, the holiday shows, of course, and
Yeah, yeah.
I end up taking so for those that don't know, it would be a modified set, very small, much smaller set to the
Mhm.
deployed locations, and you would effectively see the same. Your family could see the same show that you're seeing as a deployed member. There's not a lot, you know, of variety in your day to day in that environment, plus the
Yep.
environment of being in those places. And so those were pretty treasured memories. Then I also took photographs of people with Santa, who he's our tech, I think our tech director was Santa. And people would, I would send them. So I remember the holiday shows, I was up really late because I would take like 50 or 100 people's photographs and get their emails and hope that they wrote it. There was no like QR code or whatever.
Right,
Uh,
right.
so I was like on my laptop or iPad, I forget what I was using, but making sure that I didn't go to bed and forget to give this picture of, dad or mom to with Santa. So
That's cool. That's pretty
for
cool.
the holidays, yeah, that was a rewarding season. And then um, I kept one of the shows. I smuggled the poster home in a couple of cigar tubes, but we ended up canceling our Christmas morning show. We did a Christmas Eve and a Christmas morning show in Bagram,
In,
and it was
oh, in
canceled.
Bagram. Oh,
The
so
second one.
You guys weren't in Korea for Christmas.
No,
No, interesting. Okay.
yeah, and the second show, the morning of Christmas, was canceled because of you know
Yeah. Yeah.
things getting lobbed as they
Things
do.
getting lobbed. Yeah.
So
Wow.
that memory is pretty special as well.
Yeah. Well, that brings up my next question. Meaningful memories. That's obviously a good one. Do you have any more that just really, really stick out on you? I mean, you got coined by generals and I mean, this is such cool stuff, man.
Yeah. There was a chief at my base when I left. She was a retired chief working with me in Boulder, and she gave me a challenge when I left. Not a challenge. She said, "Bring me a rock. Bring me a cool rock." And I didn't know why, and I
Wait,
forgot
did you
about
say rock?
a rock, like a ROCK. Bring me a rock
Okay, I gotcha.
on your travels. Kind of
Okay.
almost a challenge. And I didn't know why, and I didn't forgot about it for a while. And then I remember being in Portugal on the beach in Portugal, which is just absolutely gorgeous. We may live there one day. Um, and I got a rock, and I was like, all those months later, I brought it back, and I gave her this rock from this gorgeous beach in Portugal, and I told her the whole story. She comes back the next day, and she gives me this. I don't have it here, but it's a chunk of concrete, and there's some green paint on it. And she was stationed in Europe when the wall came down. And she said I had a chunk of
No
Berlin Wall,
way.
and when special things, she would often ask people like to bring me a rock, and so she could tell a story about this guy that was touring, playing drums for a year in Portugal,
Yeah.
and I still have this piece of the Berlin Wall that she chunked off, this bigger chunk that she kept while she was there, and so that was a pretty cool
That's
memory.
that's the coolest thing I've
Yeah,
ever heard today. Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
pretty special. Um, our driver in Germany was phenomenal, and he volunteered to drive us to Oktoberfest. So we were kind of close by enough that within, I don't recall, a couple hours we were there, and so did that. That was fun. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
I did I forget if it was clear or Greenland, but I did the red at the old coffee pots with the red water where the hot water
Oh yeah,
comes out. You
yeah,
feel so
yep.
I did that or the cup, and then I went outside and I threw it and it went into dust,
And, yeah,
into,
yeah. In the snow. Yeah.
well, just into gas, like immediately. It just
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Just went to
yeah,
straight
it
gas.
was
Yep.
so cold. So that was a fun time. And then those shows in those very tough to get to locations were
Do you have a specific venue that you absolutely hated and one that you absolutely loved? Any whether it was setup based, tear down based, or performance based or location based?
that's one of the regrets was that I wish I had taken the same shot at every stage.
Hmm.
A lot of it just blended together over the year.
Yeah,
But
as they do.
of
Yeah.
course, the one I think somebody else mentioned, the one where you got to like go up the second story through the window, like you had to do the ramp up. Like I forget where that was. I think it was the
Hmm.
same place we lost power. Like we shouldn't have been there. I don't know why.
Yeah, yeah. Why are we playing
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like isn't there like a community center anyway? So those really physically challenging ones. Um, what was my favorite? I don't recall one standing out as it was mostly the locations, and we got some time to look around, like the
Right.
riding the gondola in Venice and like that sort of thing stood out, especially with the people, there would be various iterations, but kind of core friend
Right.
friend groups that would kind of develop um
It gets clicky.
over
It gets
time.
a little clicky.
Yeah, I was the old married guy, so I very much, I
Was
turned
the old
30.
married
I
guy.
turned 30 in staging, right? I just put on tech sergeant, so
I was 30 in staging.
I wasn't the oldest, but I was definitely in that demographic. And so I decided early on, I'm happily married before tour. I'm going to be happily married after tour.
Right, right, right.
You know,
Yep. Wow.
all I have to say about that.
What was your in your mind, other than busting your hand, what was your worst on stage screw up? Or maybe you didn't have any.
That's a good one. I broke a few sticks. That's not really screwing up. That's just getting a little
No,
too spicy.
you didn't miss like a cue or an opening, or you forgot a song and you drew a blank, nothing like that?
It might have been back to that May Riverwalk show where my tempos were probably pretty all
All,
over the place. Yeah.
all over the map.
And having the time to prepare the headspace for that and having, a little more intent behind like not relying, like using the metronome as a tool, but not completely
Mhm.
falling apart if it doesn't look.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There are probably a few moments that I'm sure some of the singers could be like, oh yeah, I remember he was in my one song, because I'm on stage the whole time.
Yep.
People have one moment, 1 3 minutes to shine. And if I screw that up for them, they're going to probably remember more than me. So sorry if I,
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, our drummer screwed up, so I couldn't finish my song. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. Um, in your mind, what do you think was the hard? I mean, we always default to missing our family, obviously, but what was the hardest part about being on the road, other than that?
Um, I think compl complying with all the rules. Being
That's
being
fair.
being perfect all the time. Being in a fishbowl, I think, was the term, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
you have very little room, um, as you should, have very
Yeah,
little
yeah,
room
yeah.
for error
Yeah.
as a military professional. Um, it's different the lens you're under, and so that was challenging. I was late once. I slept in and I was a flight chief, and I went to my team. I'm like, hey guys, I'm really sorry. I didn't miss the bus. I didn't have to like buy my own plane ticket home or anything, or to the next gig. But like, you make those mistakes, they are noticed,
Yeah.
and you have to go. Hey, this is on
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Uh, so that was pretty tough.
Yeah.
Physically, mentally, emotionally, you get stretched and you figure out ways to sleep and places to sleep that you never thought, under the stage, catch a hot
But
five or a hot
yep.
20 and you're like ready to go for another 2 days. But
Yep.
Yeah, just
Well,
that.
that brings me to my next question. Tell the folks what it's like on the tour bus.
It was tight. I mean, you have a like a captain's chair that kind of swivels. I was a third of the way down. Um,
And you had no bathrooms.
yeah, no.
Well,
I
well,
remember, I don't remember who told me, but somebody told me before tour to get a noise canceling headphones, which is, everything is that technology's come a long way, but like the early Bose, like the first couple of models I bought,
mm,
and that was the best, you know, whatever $300 it was at the time or something like that. It was, so
yeah.
I would zone pretty good. Um,
Did you have to, I mean, we did a lot of rehearsals on the bus. We had XLRs right above us, and I'm sure you guys did. Did you guys do a lot of rehearsals on the bus? Did you guys do any rehearsals on the bus?
I'm sure the vocalist did, probably with them, maybe not with any musical accompaniment. I don't recall. I certainly didn't have
Yeah.
any modified.
Yeah, so you might have had a pad, but that's maybe if that. Yeah. Yeah, just clap.
That's all I did when we did like the reach back, the reach outs or whatever uh
Yeah.
shows at retirement homes and things like that where people are singing. I'm like, I don't sing, but I'm gonna smile and clap, keep time.
Yeah. Yeah, folks don't it's tough for folks when I tell them that we had a tour bus. We rehearsed in the tour bus. We had to watch videos of the show the night before. I don't know if you guys did that. Did you guys ever watch the videos of the show on the bus and critique yourselves?
No, we never.
Interesting.
I don't know that there's any footage of the shows other than a couple of random cell phone
They
videos.
didn't wait, no, they
I don't.
surely
I
the
don't
agency
know.
recorded all your shows and you guys had to send tapes back.
I don't
Really?
think so. I don't know.
Wow. Yeah, we had to send every tape back. We had to
Yeah.
watch the next day and critique our shows and look at our performance and say what did we do wrong and if it sucked we had to we got back on the bus and
Fix it.
practice again till on the way to the next venue.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Um, Post tour. Well, hang on. How many? I couldn't find out how many shows you guys did. How many shows did you guys do?
It was 139. No, sorry. I get my numbers mixed up. 120 something shows in 39 states and 19 countries.
Wow,
That's
good stat.
124 shows, I think.
Wow. Wow. Post tour. Did you hit the big wall? Did you have any problems post tour?
My wife laughs because I decided let's get a puppy. That was a really good idea. Um, that'll keep me busy. Um, no, honestly, I tried. I really, I'm sure I hit a wall. I'm sure I was, time stands still and you kind of come off of this freight train. But
Mhm.
that was really when I focused on my goal of commissioning, because I knew
Mhm.
that I could do anything that I wanted to do.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. Once you're done with
After
that, you
after
can do
that,
anything.
yeah. So I had finished my bachelor's in 2010. I mentioned earlier that I didn't do any school, and so when I got married, that decision point, I was like, I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna get my
Mhm.
bachelor's by the end of my next enlistment, and that way I have a choice, right, at the 10-year mark. And so I did finish my bachelor's at the 10-year mark, decided to stay in, ended up doing Tops and Blue through 2012, kind of covered all that, but then really I rolled that energy into commissioning, um, and took a while,
Wow,
but
that was I mean, you had a post tour goal, so you went straight back into it.
yeah. And when, the first no came, I started the master's degree because it can't not help, right? And also
Right.
if, I wanted to get a master's degree, it was all paid for by tuition assistance. The college I went to, they matched TA for master's level. So um, I got my second free degree from the Air Force at the time.
Mhm.
So um, yeah, just kind of rolled that energy into that.
If if they'd called you, like say 2015, to come back on the road, would you have done it?
So they did. In 2013, the sequestration
Yeah.
tour was a modified desert only tour.
Yep.
And I was very honored to get the call. I believe Jerry called me. Sorry if I'm wrong about the details, but I was asked to do that tour and I just missed the holidays and the whole year with my wife. And so I politely declined.
Yeah.
Uh, but then I was able to go back in 2014 and 15, the last 2 years of the program as a coach for
Hmm.
Worldwide or Mission Audition, it was called. And
Hmm.
had the program stayed and is still going. I don't, my career certainly wouldn't have supported another tour the way that I
Right.
was getting to be a senior NCO and then commissioning. Those are, far smaller amount of billets for commission people touring. And so who's to say? I did have the chance to go back, which I wish that I could have done, but I decided to not
Yeah.
holiday season with family.
Well, I mean, what an honor to be called for the prior
Yeah.
All-Star tour. Holy
Yeah,
crap.
hugely. And that was right after I never met Angie in person, but she had some great level of success as well as a singer. She did one of the shows. Somebody's going to correct me and be mad that I didn't get it right, but I remember she did either The Voice or one of those like really prestigious shows. And she was
Hmm.
on that tour. The
Yeah.
this with like JC and Max end up in it
Yep.
in 2011, ended up playing drums and
Yep.
not my journey.
Well,
They had a good
no,
time.
no, yeah, it wasn't your path. Wasn't
Yeah.
your path.
Yeah.
When you went back to help the world, I'm sorry, mission auditions, like you just said, I'm still old school in that arena. What was it like going back as a prior to help out?
It was fulfilling. I wasn't all about, the lore and you answer these riddles three and you better do this and that. I just try to be real with people. Um,
Hmm.
the same way that I do the commissioning panels, I'm super um, transparent and I just tell people how I think they can succeed, how I succeeded.
Hmm.
Um, I I recall a challenging moment in a drummer's life is when you just can't find the sticking or the mental space. I'm doing it almost every time I do one of these assignments on the
Yeah.
piano now, but and one of the folks had a pretty good meltdown, because he just couldn't get it. And so you just encourage and you just,
Right.
believe and
Right.
tell people that you got to work hard. And if you can't figure a way out or through, then you go over or around or under or whatever. Um,
Right.
and so just being able to give back in that way, and then I got to meet more people too. Some
Right. Right. Right.
DC is a huge epicenter for all things military, and so now I still see people that I met at that following auditions and that went up
Any,
tour.
any of the folks that you mentored make it on tour?
So Jake and I competed in 2012, and I went on 2012, and then he went in 2014 or 15.
Okay.
Um, and I can see his face, but I cannot recall. Mark Washington. Mark Washington
That sounds familiar. Yeah. Yeah.
played drums. I think he
Yep.
I think he went on. He was one of those that auditioned to something, and then he ended up. So I don't recall a specific mentoree
Right.
relationship that developed into specifically a tour,
Yeah.
but it was still good to be there and help out and kind of see it
That's
from the other side too, which is rewarding. Just like going to the retirement recently to see everybody and just kind of like um, pay a bit of tribute, but also just to be there to um, fellowship with
yeah.
this kind of
Yep.
one. I don't know how many 0.000% of people in the world in the Air Force, all these
Yep.
smaller and smaller microcosms that we have this shared experience over.
It's a very niche group.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What did you think about Chief's retirement ceremony?
I thought it was great. It was the last Tops and Blue show, right? That was the All
Yeah.
Stars came out, Huey
Yeah.
and um, Ed Jones, and I could very so many other greats.
Yep.
It was great. I enjoyed the time. I took a little vacation. My um, I met up with some other friends. Um, actually, I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about this, but I'll mention it because you asked me about mentor relationships. So when I was at Vandenberg, I at that award ceremony I talked about the person that
Mhm.
won Airman and Volunteer of the Quarter,
Yeah.
so killing it, right?
Hmm.
So I was like, you're crushing it. What do do you want to commission? Like, what's your career goals? Like, you're obviously on
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
met for coffee, and she said, basically, um, I made a huge mistake. I did something bad. I got caught, and I got hammered for it. And so I never thought I would be, able to. And I
Hmm.
was like, you are crushing it. You are exceeding in all the ways. People make mistakes, and you took your penance, and you did your proverbial time, and
Yep.
uh, I don't know the details per se, but and she ended up commissioning on her first, I'm not bitter, but on her first attempt. God bless her. And she has
Yep.
won all kinds of accolades as a CGO and is still crushing, got into a PhD program. Like, so
Oh,
like
wow.
that was one of the more, special kind of moments. And she still kind of credits me to be the only person that really like, you can do this. Like, you should do this. Um, in her
Well,
leadership chain, which
that's
is,
solid advice, man.
yeah,
Like you said, you're killing it, you're crushing it, you're doing all the right things. You make one boo-boo and you got to plow through that stuff.
yeah.
Wow. Um, what's your ultimate goal as a musician? Do you have a final goal as a musician?
Oh, such a good question. So as I sunset in the next year to 3-ish years, I decided not only to deplete my GI Bill that I've so well earned,
Hmm.
but to challenge myself to learn the language of music. When I got to DC, I met through a friend a wedding special event, corporate event kind of band, and it's one of the most interesting projects I've been in because you show up, there's a check printed with your name on it. You get at the end of the night, you play your songs. It's pretty off the cuff, swing,
Yep.
that sort of thing. Um, Thompson Blue 100% prepared me to, fake it if I don't know the song.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
and this gentleman owned a business for a lot of years in this area, has kind of moved on. But at one point, in the height of it, I think was like a one-stop shop for weddings, photography, videography, staging, lighting, audio, all the things. And
Hmm.
there is a timeline that post military, I pursue more of that role, and then I kind of leave behind all of
Okay.
the wonderful things that I've been able to do. Whether that's a full send in the complete other direction, or I make it more of a priority to shed some of the responsibility of a 9 to 5 or a second career in
Right.
the DoD or that sort of space. So all that to say, like, I'm challenging myself now while I have employment and the
Hmm.
ability to fall on my face a little bit more, and the benefit of the school program
Yeah.
to see if I kind of have the that chutzpah again um, to go out and do it, you know,
Yeah.
for
I, well, you've done so much, and I'm going to brag on you. You've been so successful with all this stuff, your music, your life, your career. Um,
Thank you.
the sky's your freaking limit, man. And I
The
say this,
sky's not your limit.
see, see, there you go.
I love
You really, I mean, if you decide just to simply just play in a band or be a musician for hire or be really, you've done so much. You could pretty much do whatever you freaking want to do now. You could go on, you could become a civilian tomorrow and the world would be your oyster because of your credentials and your chutzpah and all these things that you've managed to cobble together, put together, and just iron all this stuff out, man. I'm beyond proud of what you've done. And
Thanks.
we're not related or anything. We have a commonality, obviously, but
Yeah.
it's just amazing to see what you've done with all this stuff. It truly is.
Thank you, Dave. That really means a lot. I might call you from the parking lot or whatever, like that moment where
Yeah,
I'm like, all right, I have this job interview that is,
yeah.
maybe going to be really lucrative and this and
Well,
that. Like,
when I retired from the military, I was scared to death, but it was seamless. It was absolutely seamless.
yeah,
I couldn't tell you why it was seamless. It just worked out. I mean, they usually work out anyways for whatever reason,
yeah.
but I was scared to death when I decided it was retirement was the time. All right.
TBD.
So,
We'll
oh,
revisit that. We'll have a
yeah,
follow-up conversation in a couple years and revisit
yeah,
how
yeah, exactly, exactly. All
stories.
right. So I like to ask these questions. I like kind of get in your head a little bit more before we wrap this up. Um, what's your favorite movie?
Oh, that's a good one. Um,
If you say Whiplash,
no, that's a great
no,
film. Honestly, I gotta go with The Dark Knight. I don't know if that's um
dude,
and
great
like Heath
movie.
Ledger's performance and the soundtrack, like we just saw a can't those candlelight concerts, it's a thing now. We did a
Mhm.
Hans Zimmer where it's like in a church or like a really dark. Have you heard of this candlelight concerts?
I have heard of,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's super cool. Then we did our first one with Hans Zimmer and they did, he's done all kinds of phenomenal films, but
yeah, yeah.
that would probably be one that I'm like, if I could watch that movie again and again, It's just a phenomenal film.
That's one of those flicks where if it rolls up on the screen, I'm watching it.
Yeah,
It's my go-to.
yeah.
It's such a good movie. I'm with you on that one. What song what song lifts you up? What song if you're in a kind of a grumpy mood or in a bad mood or you're sad or whatever, something emotional's going on in your life, what song brings you up that you like to hear and just take you away?
It's got to be heavy. I mean, like I'm generally happy with somebody screaming at me. Like metal. Like my drive to work. I always joke like I'm either listening to like crazy heavy metal or Katy Perry,
Yeah.
any of that stuff. I might have to revisit that or think on it a second for one single song. Um, as an example, that's a tough one.
That's a tough one. I get so let me ask you this. What song on your phone would people be surprised is on your phone?
I try. So we do the home Wi-Fi speaker thing, and so there's just like
Okay.
almost always music playing. And I try to
Yep.
whenever we have like different regional meals, I try to listen to the region. So like we have if we're making Hispanic food, I'll listen to salsa music. If we're doing Greek, I'll listen to
Interesting.
Mediterranean. So I'm a rock metal guy,
Yeah.
but I try to listen to everything. Um, we there are a few regions or things aren't really very well represented on the devices, the streaming devices. So it's a
Right.
little tougher, or you hit a weird pocket and you're like, I'm gonna back away. Like I don't think that's what I thought that was gonna be, but um, yeah, a ton of, and like smooth jazz. I mean, thanks to Tops and Blue, our whole pre-show, like once we're set up and the doors open,
Mhm.
was that smooth jazz, no
Yep.
vocals typically, but upbeat, but like sexy and a little
Yep.
stanky.
Yep.
Um, that's like probably pretty high on my go-to.
All right. All right. What TV shows did you watch as a kid?
I was a big Ninja Turtle fan for
Which
sure.
one which one was your favorite turtle?
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo?
Yeah, he was the had the nunchucks, and I may have bruised or broken a face part many years ago, and I had some unauthorized nunchucks as a kid. But
My
plus, he was
my
the
my
kind of
kids love the Ninja Turtles. Absolutely love them.
yeah.
What was the first record or CD or cassette tape that you bought?
Um, this is sadly a tragic answer. Is the Dumb and Dumber soundtrack? It was the first CD I ever bought, which had some bangers on it, but like
Yeah.
overall, it's not a serious, compelling piece of music
Yeah.
that's put out. Um, but I will say I did start just recently. My wife bought a record player for Christmas this year, and so
Oh, nice.
we have started a kind of collecting. It's totally back. Like it's a thing. There's like record
Yep.
stores. Uh,
Yep.
and the first album that I bought, the first physical LP that I bought before I had a record player, because I was just like, I really, really enjoy this artist, was a band called Sleep Token. If you've not heard, their drummer is a generational talent. Um,
Oh,
they're
wow. Generational talent. Wow.
absolute phenomenal. They're masked. There's a whole lore behind. They're very heavy, and there's a lot of mystic undertones, but the music is very, very beautiful and heavy and um, yeah.
Wow.
Sleep
Okay.
Token. I'd love to hear what you think of
Oh,
it.
you're gonna send me a link. Send me something. Send me.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
What was your favorite toy as a kid? Don't tell me it was one of the Ninja Turtle dolls, please.
oh, my favorite toy as a kid. I think I had a Teddy Ruxpin. I might have to phone a friend on that one.
All right.
One of
You
those,
were a Hot Wheels guy
or maybe my buddy, the Child's Play doll or something. I don't know. Uh,
oh, okay, let's go a little bit older. 10, 11.
probably the Nintendo. Does that count? I
Oh
didn't
no,
stick with.
absolutely
Yeah, I
counts.
had like the
Yes.
original Nintendo. I didn't
Yeah.
stick with it very long. I'm just not much of a gamer, but
Yeah.
I'm a fan of that at the time. Super Mario, I think, was like the big breakthrough.
It was a big deal. That's what I was playing when was it Mario the second version? I forget. When Desert Storm kicked off, we were in the middle of games.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
crazy. Uh other than drumming, what's your happy place?
Um, just being with my wife and in a in a cool
Solid answer.
whether that's home. We started this thing. right before the pandemic, and we've done it
Mhm.
a handful of times now. And this is like one of my closing thoughts is like go to the concert, like do the thing, like go out, enjoy your city, go to a city you've never
Mhm.
been to. And
Right.
so my our example, and I love people's reaction to this, is there's a band that we both like. We picked a city we've never been to. We executed. We bought the the concert tickets, and then we bought plane tickets and hotels and all that. Um, and we've been able to do that. The first one was the concert was in Madrid, and so we did like 2 weeks, a week in Spain and a week in Portugal. We've done one in Berlin, and we've done one
Wow.
in Sweden. We went to Stockholm for a couple of days, and we went like to this deep part of took a 45-minute train ride from the city to this concert in a field. And so you experience new food and new culture, and all that. And so that's we hit our 20th anniversary this year, and
Mhm.
so we'll probably do something later in the fall, like some sort of international travel. But it's always I always recommend it to people, like pick an event and then build around, which is a really fun way to do
Well,
it.
that's a good. That's a good
Happy
way to do
place.
it.
Yeah, happy place would be like trying a new place with my wife and a interesting
Yeah.
meal and a fun event.
Nice. All right. This is kind of like the ending question. Then I'm going to open up to you if you want to ask anything. What prior influenced you the most,
Um,
and why?
Influenced me the most.
What
I
prior influenced you the most?
definitely Huey gave me the shirt off his back, and I can't ever not give him props and love for
Yep.
that. But Lorenzo like like he changed my drummer DNA, I think, with his grace and his talent, like sheer raw talent,
Mm.
and grace being a capital G, capital R,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. I got
hey dumb drummer,
you. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and so he influenced me as a drummer and a musician like forever, and I can now appreciate every type of music and figure out a way to approach every type of music. So
Nice.
yeah,
Well, again, I've known Lorenzo for a long time. He's
yeah,
one of the cats, and yeah, I love Lorenzo to death. An amazing bass player, amazing musician.
yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna open up to you. Is there anything you want to show? Anything you want to share? Anybody you want to thank? The floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, I just we kind of ended on where I intended to end, was thanking Huey, Lorenzo, Barry, Best again, all the folks that came back and um, poured into people as you're learning and as you're underwater, trying to figure
Mhm.
it out. One of my last trinket or tchotchke to show is, um, you know, Keith Loudermill performed the national anthem at my promotion to captain.
Mhm.
Huey performed the national anthem at my promotion at Fenway.
That's
Boston
amazing.
to first lieutenant, which isn't really a thing that people do, but I was like, I'm
Yeah,
having a party.
yeah.
Um, Joey K was going to be invited to my promotion to major, but plans changed there a little bit. So TBD there. Um, Jessica Pitts, who toured in 2012 and then is now Jessica Kane, she performed at my Space Force transfer ceremony in the Pentagon's Hall of Heroes, the national anthem on the trumpet, and just like
Wow,
those that like
wow.
how freaking cool is all of that. And then the last thing I'll show is it's a typical sign of respect and honor for a first salute from an enlisted member to an officer,
Mhm.
for the officer to buy a silver dollar, and one is presented to the enlisted member, and the officer keeps one. And Mike Menges, who is our lighting director on tour and a great friend,
Mhm.
did me the honor of rendering my first salute. And so this is something that I just I
Oh,
just
that's pretty cool.
I just wanted to share like the interweaving continual
Yeah,
decades later relationships
yeah,
that
yeah,
we
yeah,
have. And if anybody ever needs a drum solo for their promotion party, um, you know, I can play
yeah.
the backtrack of the anthem, but I'll just play some beats behind it.
I uh,
Um,
I may have something. I may have to hit you up for something that I'm working on.
I've got a full
Um,
studio here, Dave. I'm ready to rock. Everything's
I,
digital. Um,
I well, that's what makes our life a little bit easier now because
yeah,
you can do things now a little bit easier. I mean, I haven't hooked up to an amplifier in so long. I just hook up to my phone and play. It's just
yeah,
it's just amazing to me.
yeah.
But I have something in mind for you. I may hit you up with later. We'll talk. We'll,
Okay,
we'll talk.
okay.
All right. Anything else you want to ask me or anything else you want to share before we close this out?
Just, it's sad that the program isn't a thing anymore, but you never know what people are into. And so I just,
Mhm.
for priors watching, hopefully non-priors, people that are interested or find this some random way, um, it's, you never know what the person next to you, what their talent is, what their passion is. And so I just always
Right.
ask people to be comfortable in their talent and to share it and to ask others what they're into. That's whenever in a professional setting or whatever, it seems cheeky, but I'm always, what's your kind of your name? What do you do? And what's something unique about you? And it's crazy the things people open up about. One dude was like, I'm into cannons. Like I'd go fire cannons and make cannonballs and just
Yeah.
like, what? Okay.
What?
And that's the
Yeah.
whole thing, you never know. And that could strike a common interest or a new budding relationship. So I always love
Yeah.
to build on that in any capacity where it's, um, yeah, look for ways to embrace your talent, learn from your surroundings and all that goodness.
Well,
Thanks,
dude, I
Dave.
can't tell you. Such a pleasure talking to you, and I wish you the best. I know you're going to be whatever you decide to do after you depart the Space Force. You're going to be great at it.
Thank you.
Um, it was a pleasure working with you back at Worldwide back in the day. You're a great drummer, and you're an asset to the military, brother. You're an asset to the military.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks, Dave.
No, it's I say it from the heart, and it's absolutely true. You're prior. You're a brother musician, and you set a great example. And what else to say about Major Select Josh Tarrant, folks? Except you know, rockets need to go up. We need people in the Space Force, and you know, you're
Come on
you're doing
over.
all the right things, man. So Josh, I appreciate you coming on. Please tell your wife I said hello.
Will do. Thank
Right.
you.
And anytime you want to talk, get in touch, let me know. And again, Josh, folks, Thompson Blue Prior 2012, Major Select, Josh Tarrant, Thompson Blue Prior, Wilco winner. Hang on. And we both got beat by bass players.
Awesome bass player. I love it. I love it.
So there you go. We have more commonalities than most people think. So
Yeah.
all right, Josh. Well, great talking to you. Much love to you, sir.
You
And
too. You.
thank you again.